A new hero has entered this world. Am I I dreaming or is he real?